Michael Morris is the CEO and co founder of Randstad Digital's AI powered talent marketplace that connects enterprises with top freelance developers worldwide. With that, Mike, we're pleased to have you today, and we're really looking forward to your presentation.
Okay, Michael, thank you so much. Yeah. So, what we're going to talk about today is a little bit of my background and my experience. And we're going to dive into how can companies future proof their talent with all these changes that we're seeing in AI today. And specifically, how a community based model for talent can impact that. So, little bit of background. I've been in this industry for a while. I have the gray hairs to prove that. But I've spent most of my professional life building talent platforms. So if I look at it over the period of time, most of my career was spent at the beginning at this company called Topcoder, which was the largest and one of the first crowdsourcing business models out there. We grew it to about over 2 million crowdsourced software developers and designers, and it was eventually acquired by Wipro in 2016. Um, During that time, that was a relatively long journey. There was a little tangent where I built this company with another group of entrepreneurs called Cloud Spokes, and that was within the company Aperio, and it was over 75,000 crowdsourced Salesforce.com, Google, and AWS developers. So again, similar theme, talent marketplace. We use crowdsourcing to drive the engagement model. And all of this really culminated into the founding of Torque in 2021. So myself and a group of co-founders, we built Torque from the ground up, and we built it as a digital marketplace to get access to technology talent. And instead of focusing on crowdsourcing, we focused on the staffing industry. How can you use a staffing model, but over a community of talent? And where are we today? So it's a global business model. We were acquired by Randstad um, in May of 2024. We currently have 3.2 million digital talent on the platform. Last year, we did 1.3 billion through the platform. So customers buying access to talent, 1.3 billion of revenue through the platform, and 80% of the talent that was placed. So if you think about, as a marketplace, you get a request for a talent on one side, we have our community talent in the middle, and then we have that place talent on the right hand side. 80% of that place talent came from our community. So from that 3.2 million. So that's really where you think about the efficiencies of the business model. But what are we thinking about now? How is AI going to impact us? AI is going to impact almost every company out there. We're particularly going to be impacted because we focus on digital talent. So we do a lot of analysis on this. And if we look at this chart right here, we're really targeting five of our top 30 professions. And if we do nothing, these five professions are going to drop by roughly about 8% per year. They've been dropping fairly steadily. They're going to continue to drop because of the exposure of AI. Now, that exposure is not, these roles aren't completely disappearing, but a lot of the tasks underneath there are completely disappearing. So there's going to be less need for these roles as AI usage increases. So if you look on the right hand side, you've got computer programmers, 75% exposure to the task of actually programming, writing code. So we don't expect that to drop as quickly as it is. There is going to be a lag effect. But if we do nothing, actually, it's about 10 of our top 30 roles will be fairly significantly impacted. But there is a counter to this. And the counter is what we really expect to have happen here is Jevons paradox. Jevons paradox states that as a technology increases the efficiency with which a resource is used, the total consumption of that resource increases rather than decreases. So basically, if you look at that left hand chart, we expect that the demand for technology resources is going to outpace the efficiency that or the displacement of those resources. So, let's just do some simple math here. We have roughly 25 million software developers on the planet, in my estimation. We will likely see roughly a 20% productivity increase in that group of resources. But our anticipation is that the demand for software development will outpace that. So let's say we have a 25 or 30% increase in demand. So the net result is that we do expect that our overall demand for technology resources are going to increase. Um, so so what does that really leave us? It leaves us to understanding which roles are going to decrease and which roles are going to increase. And that's where our analysis kind of comes into play. This is the very high level look where we're saying, this left-hand side of the chart generally are going to be things that we expect to decrease. At least the tasks underneath these professions will decrease. And the right hand side of this chart, we expect the tasks underneath these professions to really increase. In fact, on the top right, we expect these roles to have the multiplier effect. So if you can really arm your workforce with people that have in these professions, that you can create a multiplier effect for the efficiencies driven by AI. Um, but when I look at this just from my background is technology, what I see here in a really simple form is that right-hand side of the chart, these are builders. These are people that are implementing things. These are people that are actually putting things into production, that are driving new innovations. They're coming up with new concepts. And that really becomes the difference because a lot of our other tasks that surround that can be automated. And so what do we do with all this information? It's easy to say that, hey, we think these are going to be the big roles going forward, but how do we actually action on that? I'm going to talk about that a little bit. It's really about the underlying skills. Across our 3.2 million people, we have a taxonomy of roughly 17,000 skills and 4,000 professions. So I'll break that down a little bit. It basically means that we can look at our talent base and we can understand which skills they have and which skills make up a certain profession. So these are the top 30 skills that we believe are going to be most in demand going forward and are going to drive people into going from, let's say, a software engineer to an AI powered software engineer, an AI enabled software engineer, or a full stack developer to an AI enabled full stack builder, somebody that's actually implementing that code and building it using tools like Claude Code and other AI platforms. There's kind of two sides to this coin, though. If we look at these skills, the yellow ones are soft skills, the green ones are technical skills, and the blue ones are professional skills. The green ones are fairly easy for us to vet. So we can go and we can tell our talent if they have these or not. We can use assessments and technology tests and interviewing tools to find out if our talent have these skills. The blue ones you can uncover during interviews or the experience that somebody has. The yellow ones are very difficult. People don't put things like critical thinking on their resume as a skill today. But we need to uncover these. So with our interaction with our 3.2 million strong community, we need to be able to uncover, like, is somebody have the skill of adaptability? Like, are they going to be able to change? Because we're seeing an enormous amount of change happen. Just look at what's happened in the space of AI. In 2022, roughly, ChatGPT came out, right? We started using that almost quarterly, to the T, a new innovation has been following that. And you can kind of see where we are today. Major shifts. We've gone from ChatGPT, we've gone from there to now we're in the agent world. Now we're applying agents to reasoning models. Next thing we have coming up is superhuman models, where we're going to take it to even the next level. All of these changes are going to continue to impact the underlying professions that are popular, but these are the skills that we think are going to stay throughout that trend. So we're going to try to do our best to really harness these and understand where they are within our community and how we can uncover them. So how are we going to do that? That's pretty simple. So we're a technology platform from the core, and I think if from a listener perspective, you want to be thinking about this yourself, is how can you leverage technology platforms, not just Randstad Digital Torque, but other ones, to have access to these changing roles, right? So as your environment is changing, as your skill sets are changing, how do you get access to that talent so you continue to build your next generation workforce? I kind of liken it sometimes to the way you would play fantasy football, right? Every week you're trying to put that best team on the field, and you're using data and past historical information and who you're playing to make those insights. The same thing should be true for to your technology teams. How are you going to be able to look at and say, hey, who are the right group of people for me to put on this project coming up next month? And the way that we're going to impact that is through our technology platform. So on one side of the platform is the talent experience. In the middle is all of this intelligence generated by the data that we're collecting. And on the right-hand side, it's really going to be the customer experience, giving somebody the ability when they think to themselves, hey, I need to future-proof my team, giving them that interface that they can come in and say, hey, I need somebody that can implement this for me, that can build this for me. And underneath those layers, we're able to really uncover, okay, you're looking for somebody that has these skills, that has these system thinking skills and critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. But you need somebody that has this technology background and this domain expertise as well. So the platform's really going to be training on matching up those talent with the demand that those customers are providing. So in short, my career has really been spent coming up to this point. And if I look back at it, those big shifts that we've seen, one shift has been the movement from, when we were building our top coder crowdsourcing model, it was about finding these specialists, somebody that had this really specific skill. And then we could arm those specialists with other specialists and build a great team. What we're seeing today with AI is we really want smaller teams filled with more generalists, people that have an understanding of technology, an understanding of domain, an understanding of the business processes, and then surrounding them by a small number of those specialists, people that can help them get those things to the last mile in production, people that can help them to vet, is that the correct technology decision to make for your platform. So we've really seen a shift in how, what the demand for the individual workers, um, it has been coming about, as we've seen, our technology shift from with AI coming into the picture and this move to a more generalist model for talent. So with that, I would turn it back to you, Michael.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate that great presentation. I know a lot of individuals that are listening in today will have questions. So if you have a question for Michael, right in front of you, you'll see a Q&A box. Type in your question, and coming right up at the top of the hour, we will have a panel. with all of the speakers from the previous couple of hours, and Michael will be on that panel as well. And we'll get to as many of the questions as we can during the live panel. So just be sure to type your question into that Q&A box. And with that, Michael, thank you so much for that great presentation.
Thank you.